What's up, YouTube? What a night. Yeah, it's now 8:18 in the AM. I just dropped off my last passenger. I actually started at about maybe 10:30 last night. Only reason I stayed at it so long, I was that close. Wanted to get that little $79 bonus. It don't seem like much, but to me $79 is like $790. I sure wasn't gonna miss that, and the deadline to get it is 5 a.m. Friday morning, which is less than 24 hours away from now. But I just thought I'd take this time to do a part 2 for the rideshare video I made months ago. It may or may not be as long as that one, but we'll see. I mean, I know I covered a lot of stuff in it, and I'm going to say the same thing to this one that I did the last one. Not every ride I take is like this. This is just a small portion. And after all that stuff I said in the first one, you would think, because of that, you would think there couldn't possibly be more. Yeah, there's more. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in it. Now you have the ones that take a while. When I say take a while, let me give you an example. Now this does happen quite a bit. Like, let's say I could get a ping to pick somebody up, and I'm like 15 minutes away from where they are. Okay, so I spend the full 15 minutes getting to them. You would think they would be ready by then. You would think that's more than enough time to be ready. No, I'll pull up, and then I'll hit the button to let them know that I'm here, and then a 5-minute timer starts counting down. And there have been times quite a few times where the full 5 minutes has run down. Now, Lyft has this thing. You can't just mark them as a no-show. You've got to call them. And I'll call them and I'll be like, hey, I'm your Lyft driver. Can y'all see me anywhere? Oh, yeah, we're coming. We're just getting dressed. And I'm like, why did you not order the ride after you did? You know, it'd be stuff like that. I mean, because there have been times where it wouldn't take me long at all to get to somebody, like less than 5 minutes. I pull up, they're already out there waiting on me. And there was one of those ones who took a while that I actually gave a bad rating to. I mean, she wasn't going nowhere but to her job at McDonald's. It was like 4:30 in the morning, so she obviously had first shift. I pull up, I start the timer, and I'm sitting in front of her house, and the damn thing actually times out. So, you know, I called her, the phone rang twice and went to voicemail, and I was just about to hit the no-show button, then I saw her come out. She walks up to the car, opens the back door, gets in. Good morning. Yeah, like, you totally did not just have me sit here waiting for you and didn't bitch butt me when I called you. Just got in, good morning, like that's normal. Well, I guess it was normal for me to give you the appropriate rating. Yeah, just know if I'm doing a lot of stuttering or stammering or even tripping over my words, just know I've only been out all night running on fumes. That's why I'm returning to base now, because my mission has been accomplished. But another one I want to touch on, and you know, an incident that happened during the night about a few hours ago made me think about this one, because this ain't the first time something like this has happened. But both Lyft and Uber has a feature where you can go into last ride mode. Because when you're in last ride mode, okay, if you're not in last ride mode actually, if you're already in progress of one ride and another one becomes available, it'll add it to your queue. But if you go into last ride mode, it won't add any more to your queue. And the three biggest reasons why one would usually go into last ride mode, I mean, maybe they want to grab some, maybe you want to grab some lunch, maybe you need to use the restroom, or maybe you're just ready to call it a day or call it a night or whatever. Now, this doesn't happen every time, but more often than not. And last night was an example because I planned to take my lunch at midnight. So it was about maybe 11:51. I'm on my way to pick this old guy up. And, once he gets in the car, I go into last ride mode. So that way, and he was going from some neighborhood off of Jefferson Highway to the LaBerge Casino. And it had a pretty decent fare to it. So I'm like, all right, you know what? This will be a pretty decent way to go into last ride mode. Well, and you know what? I can't really kick him too hard because, like I said, he was elderly. Probably didn't know what he was doing. Not all there. And I'm not about kicking somebody like that. But I have had people that were younger do it too. But more often than not, when I go into last ride mode, I'll say like maybe 6 out of 10 times, sometimes maybe even 8. It's that one passenger that wants to do the most. I mean, you're in last ride mode, you're either ready to eat, need a restroom, or ready to call it a night, whatever. It's a direct route they have set up. And they'll say things like, oh, can we stop at this store and spend a very long time in there? Or there could be a fast food place right there. Oh, can we go through this drive-through right here? And there's like a line of cars just wrapped around the store. Or they'll say things like, hey, after we get where we're going, can I give you cash and you can bring me back? Okay, cash rides are a whole nother thing I'm going to touch on too. But I mean, let me give you the story about what happened last night. When I picked him up, he asked me if I could stop so he can drop something off at his friend's house who lived relatively close by. I'm like, all right, whatever. And he lived in another neighborhood off of Jefferson Highway, but because they've been doing work on Jefferson Highway, I couldn't just turn onto his street. From there, I had to go a few blocks over to Floynell and go all the way down to Cow Street, make a right on there, and then come from his street from the back. But because there is a Circle K right there at the corner of Jefferson and Floynell, he asked me if I could stop there. All right, so I went ahead and stopped there. He goes in, does his thing, come out, and unbeknownst to both of us, he left his telephone in there. So, I proceed over to where his friend's house is, and he's there. He's in there for a good 5 minutes, maybe more. He gets back in the car, and as we're leaving to head to the casino, because just right up the road from where his friend was, there was an immediate turn where you could turn right onto Oliphant, then a left on Bluebonnet, and a straight shot to the casino. He turns on the backseat light. He's looking for his telephone. So, I went ahead and called his phone from mine to see if it would ring, and we didn't hear it, and he didn't feel it either. So I asked him, do you at any point remember having it with you when you got in? And he said he did. So he asked if we could go to the Circle K. So now we're having to backtrack, and I'm going to touch on backtracking too. So now we're having to backtrack over there. He goes in the Circle K, finds his, and sure enough, he left it on the counter. Okay, so now we can go ahead and proceed to the casino. But another reason I'm not going to knock him down too hard, aside from everything else I said, he did give me a tip, so I mean, there is that. But not everybody who does all that tips. They think it's normal. And there have been times I've wanted to ask these passengers who do the most when I'm in last ride mode. I just want to ask them, how did you know I'm in last ride mode? Now, if any other rideshare drivers watching this have experienced this too, go ahead and tell me in the comments, so that way I know I'm not the only one. Otherwise, I will have to assume that they actually do know. Now, the whole backtracking thing, there have been times where when I was out doing this, like I could pick somebody up and get halfway to their destination and they'll say they forgot something, can we go back? Or they'd get almost to it and say, can we go back? Now, that can be one of two things. It can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. Let's talk about the good thing. See, I've already made the set amount of money for going the first direction already. And once he says we need to backtrack, that's now pretty close to twice as much. He gets what he forgot. Hey, on that one ride, I made almost 3 times as much as if I just went one way. Now, when I say it can be a bad thing, I'm actually still to this day mad about this one. But about maybe a couple years ago, you know, I picked this woman up from some club on South Sherwood, closer to Sigan Lane. Those of you who do this in Baton Rouge, you know what I'm talking about. I pick her up and I'm taking her to her apartments over off of Millerville. Well, as I'm taking her there, another ride is added to my queue. And it's a ride going to New Orleans. Hell yeah! An easy $68. But we get almost to her apartment, she's like, oh, I left my house key at the club. Can we go back? So, you know, I proceed to bring her back. And because I had backtracked with that ride in the queue, when we got back to the club, she elected to stay there instead of proceed back to her apartment. But when that happened, that $68 ride got pulled right out from under me. I was madder than a wet hornet because that $60 just flashed right before my eyes, all because she forgot all over a damn house key. And of course, here's another form of backtracking that I actually did not do. This was back in 2019, and it was actually during college football season. But one particular Saturday, you know, I was out giving rides, and I gave my last ride to this one guy out in Denham Springs. And I was already in last ride mode, so that way, after I dropped him off, I could stop, pick up my beer, and proceed back home, because Alabama had a game on that I wanted to watch. Well, I finally make it back home, and mind you, from where I dropped him off to where I was living, there's 20 miles of distance. Well, I had already made it back home. I cracked open a beer, and I'm watching the game. My phone rings. It's that passenger. He asked me, I guess he had a car key or something and he lost it, but he asked me if I could, he said he lost his key and he asked me if I could look in my car for it. You know, I told him I would, and here's the thing, and I did, of course, whenever they went to commercial, and I didn't see it. But here's the thing, because of the factors that were already involved on my end, even if I did see it, he wasn't getting it back till tomorrow. So I'd have told him, no, I don't see it. And of course, I never did. I mean, come on, I'm not going to miss this game, or or miss the first half of this game, even with alcohol in my system, because I'm having to drive all the way to Denham Springs to give you your little key, and then all the way back home, where halftime will probably be over at that point. So, no, didn't happen. And you know, here's another annoying one that I actually had this one like 4 years ago, I want to say, but she got a lot of strikes with me. I mean, it was late at night. I picked her up from one of those high-end hotels off of Constitution Avenue, which kind of runs parallel to I-10 right by College Drive. They got a lot of high-end hotels such as the Marriott, Holiday Inn, you know, stuff like that. As soon as I pulled up, I mean, she came out of the room with a bag and she said, "Do you mind if I smoke a cigarette right quick?" Strike one. No, I didn't tell her strike one, but I said, "Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I used to smoke cigarettes myself, so I know how rough it is." So I let her smoke her cigarette, and when she's done, she gets in the car and we proceed to her destination. Now, she has a stop along the way, and that stop was Baton Rouge's only 24-hour Walgreens. You know, it's that one right there at the corner of Acadian and Government Street. So I pull up over there, she goes in, does her thing, comes back out, gets in the car, we proceed to leave. We just exited the parking lot, and she says, "Oh, I left my phone in there. Can we go back?" Strike two. So I bring her back so she can get her phone. And here's where it really got annoying. When I finally got to her drop-off location out in mid-city, you know, it was pretty dark where she was. I mean, none of the street lamps on that street worked. Just about everyone, including the house I was dropping her off at, was dark. So I pulled up to it, and I'm like, "Is this the place right here?" And she's looked back there looking like, "Can you make the block?" Make the block? Yeah, just kind of circle the neighborhood right quick. Now, mind you, another passenger got added to my queue at that time. So I went ahead and made the block one time. I'm like, "Okay, can you make the block again?" "Really?" So I make the block one more time. And then when I got to where the drop-off location is, "Can you do it one more time?" I'm like, No. Okay, look. I have another passenger sitting in the queue right now who probably needs to go to work. So to make her wait like this while we make the block, that's really not fair to her. So at this point, something's going to have to happen. And she's like, "Yeah, but the cops out here are bad." I can't help that. I mean, something's got to happen. I mean, I can't just do this for you all night. And she gets out, and right before she closes the door, she's like, "I'm sorry." And I'm like, "I'm sorry too." Hit the button for 1 star. All that other stuff I said prior to that point probably wouldn't have impacted her rating at all. But that last stunt right there with making the block, no, that did it. Yeah, that thing I said that I would touch on with the cash rides, well, in the first place, neither Lyft or Uber want their drivers giving passengers cash rides because it violates their terms of service. Am I guilty of breaking that rule? I'll admit, I have a few times. But I only need one hand to count how many times I've done it. And here's the thing, every time I have done it, there's always been a problem. Like one way or another, always been a problem. Here's an example. I picked this one guy up across the river in Port Allen from his job, and he has his destination set for some check cashing place on Florida Boulevard. Speedy Cash, if I remember correctly. So, we get there, or before we got there, he asked me, hey, when we get there, can I give you cash and you can bring me home? And I dumbfoundedly agreed to it. So, he goes in there, cashes his check. I'm kind of thinking he's being for real, because it looks like he's counting his money as he's walking out of the check cashing place. So he gets back in the car, and I ask him where his home is. And he proceeds to tell me it's somewhere in South Baton Rouge. He gives me a street name, like, I'll tell you when we get to it. Well, we never got to his house. Instead, there's a little hole-in-the-wall gas station right there off of Thomas Delpit in Washington. He's like, can you wait right here? I just got to go in and take a shit. Oh, and by the way, I was in last ride mode when that happened, because So he goes in there. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I know what he was doing. So I decided not to wait any longer, and I just went ahead and opened back up the ride profile of his, gave him 1 star so we can't be paired back up again, and that was it. Now, the last cash ride I did give, oh yes, and I have been asked by other people, why didn't you take the money up front? After that, you think I didn't? But there's always that one asshole who ruins it for everybody. At some point in mid-2020, it was a legitimate Lyft ride. I picked somebody up from some apartments off of Gardere and bought them to Mid-City, real close to where the CATS bus station is. CATS is Capital Area Transit System, the bus system for Baton Rouge. I had dropped them off, and I was just about to head out, and then one of them came up to the window and said, hey, do you do any side Ubering? And I said, it depends. I'll just need the money up front. Yeah, we got you. And they said, hey, he'll do side Ubering. He said, how much would you charge us to take us to somewhere in Scotlandville? Oh, say about $15. Oh, he wanted round trip, by the way, from where I dropped him off at to Scotlandville, then back to where I dropped him off at. I said, how about $15? All right, yeah, let's do that. So, he gives me a 10 and a 5. You think this ride's going to run smooth? No. Throughout most of the journey, at least on the way there, he kept asking me over and over and over and over again, to the point where I was ready to just give him back his money and kick him out of my car. But he just kept testing my comfort, as he called it, or no, checking my comfort. He's like, is this okay with you? You okay with doing this? You don't feel uncomfortable in any way? Look at me like a man when I ask you this and answer me. And I'm like, dude, what's the problem? I agreed to it, didn't I? I took the money, didn't I? I bought you here, didn't I? Then he stopped after that. But as we were on our way back to where the cash ride started in the first place, he didn't continue to push up on me. But, I heard him tell someone that was in his party, no, I just want to make sure the man's comfortable, that's all. Well, you had a funny way of doing it, because I was the exact opposite. Well, when I finally bought him back to where the cash ride started, it was like, thank God that's over. After that, I have never given another cash ride again. In fact, anytime, but I have had people in the past ask me, can I give you cash? Can I give you cash to take me here after this? Or I'm like, nope, cash rides have been discontinued. They've been discontinued. And I'm like, yep, there have been too many problems. And there's always that one asshole who ruins it for everybody. So if you want an Uber driver who's going to give you a cash ride, make sure it's not me, because it's not going to happen. Now, being a rideshare driver in Baton Rouge, one of the things I find myself doing pretty often are dropping off and picking up from the Amazon fulfillment centers. We have 3 of them in the area. There's that one across the river in Port Allen. There's that one off of Fieldstone and Honore, like real close to that big church. The Church of Making Money, as I call it. And of course we have the newest one, which is actually where the old Cortana Mall, rest in peace Cortana, that mall was a huge staple in my childhood back in the 80s and the 90s. But in 2020 that mall closed down, and probably 2 or 3 years ago they leveled it out. Now they have a huge Amazon fulfillment center sitting on top of it. In fact, it actually made the news. In fact, just go on the internet and look for shooting at Amazon fulfillment center in Baton Rouge. That's where it happened. Well, now, up until that incident happened, if I was going to drop off or pick somebody up, I would just pull up to the main gate, and all I'd have to say is, doing a Lyft pickup, and they'll just wave me through. But then after the incident happened, they stopped letting rideshare drivers onto the complex. Instead, we would have to wait right there by the guard shack for the employee who's getting off of work to walk to me. But then they just recently designated a rideshare drop-off and pickup spot. And yeah, this one is actually watched by top flight security. Those of y'all who've seen the Friday movies know what I'm talking about. Top flight security is not exactly top flight. In fact, I actually got into it with one of them during the night, because I was on my way to pick somebody up. And you know, this woman is sitting in her car. Or no, sitting in the company car, actually. It's just a white car that says Allied Universal Security. And she's in the driver's seat, and she has the window rolled down, and I pull up, and I'm like, doing a pickup? And she's like, can you give me your ID number? Okay, those of you who know me know that when it comes to shouting my sensitive information from the top of the mountain, I'm doing no such thing. So I got out. So instead, I reached for my driver's license. I got out and started to walk towards her. She's like, no, stay in your car, sir. I just need you to read it to me. And I'm like, under no circumstances will I read sensitive information out loud like that. And mind you, there's like a whole car length of space between me and her. So I'd have had to say it pretty loud for her to hear it. No, not going to do it. But if it's one thing I have gathered about these top flight security that works at Amazon, especially this one I dealt with last night, they seem to think that just because they're wearing that uniform that says Allied Security, I am now a man, or in her case a woman, of the law, and you will respect my authority. Well, then, of course, they do have the authority to make a citizen's arrest. But wait, so does anybody. I could citizen's arrest her ass if I wanted to. Oh yeah, and just kind of getting back to... Now I'm backtracking. Just kind of getting back to what I was saying about the passengers that aren't ready when I pulled up. At some point in late 2019, I was on my way to pick somebody up from one of the state buildings downtown, real close to the Capitol. I pull up, start the timer. He sends me a text talking about, hey, we're still in the middle of an important business meeting. Yeah, an important business meeting on how to waste our tax money, I presume. can you possibly wait 30 minutes? No. And he wasn't going very far either. So that time I would have sat there and waited for him. I could have made so much more money. So I'm just like, sorry, man. Can't be kept off the road that long. And I had another similar incident happen around that same time too. Like I had picked these two women up from McKinley High School and was bringing them to their home, but they had a stop along the way, and that stop, of course, was the Applebee's at the corner of Airline and Old Hammond. I thought maybe they were, and I'm glad they said something too, I thought maybe they were picking up some takeout. Well, I pull up to the place, and she said, hey, would you be all right to wait while we ate? And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? Like, did you order some takeout? Are you ordering takeout? No. These bitches actually wanted me to sit out in the parking lot and wait while they went in, met the hostess, got their menu, sat at the table, ordered their food, ate their food, and paid for their food. Probably didn't tip their waitress. But yeah, they wanted me to sit there and wait while they did that. I'm like, no, can't do that. I can't be kept off the road that long. And let's talk about the ones, and this is one of the things that doesn't happen very often at all. But let's talk about the ones who have questions about prices, or inquiries or comments about prices. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm just the driver, okay? All I do is accept the ride whenever I get the request, and I take you to where you're going, and I get paid. By Lyft, not you directly. You pay Lyft or Uber. They take out their fees, and then they pay me. Because of what I just said, I do not have any say or any influence over the prices. So, and that's always my answer whenever they ask me, how did it get to be this much? Or sometimes I do have that answer. Not very often, but sometimes I do. Like the one time I can think of when I did have that answer, and this was a round trip. I had picked somebody up from some motel off of Segan. Yeah, and it's a crack-ridden one motel too. And I bought him to some house on Highland. But on the way back to the room, he wanted to stop at Racetrack gas station. So he wasn't paying attention. I guess he was too drunk to pay attention to what he was doing. So when he put it in for some racetrack about 60 miles up the road in Greensboro. Because whenever I saw that, I'm like, just to make sure, are you going to Greensboro? No, I'm going to the racetrack and then back to my room. Gotcha. And then he asked me, how did this ride get to be 100 and something? And I told him, well, as the driver, I cannot influence or have any say over the prices, but if I had to take a shot at it, when you accidentally put it in for Greensboro, it probably calculated that. But when the algorithm sees that we didn't go anywhere near Greensboro, whatever it took from you, it's going to give it back to you. And if it didn't take it, then you got nothing to worry about. And the reason I asked him if he's going to make sure he's going to Greensboro, because this is another thing. And it's a policy that I actually adopted. Anytime I have a passenger that's going for a ride outside of East Baton Rouge Parish, I have made it a point before I start the ride in the system. I've made it a point to verbally confirm it with them. Like, just to confirm, you're going to Greensboro? Just to confirm, you're going to Gonzales? Just to confirm, you're going to New Orleans? Just to confirm, you're going to Gulfport, Mississippi? Yes, I actually did have a ride that went out there one night. Reason I do, because at some point in 2019, maybe early 2020, sometime around then, I actually picked this woman up from some Starbucks downtown. And, you know, she was going to the airport. Now, here's the thing. In Baton Rouge, our airport is not an international. It's a metropolitan airport. The nearest international airport where I am is the one in New Orleans. So I'm guessing she just put international airport in and didn't think nothing of it, because when I got the request, it was going to New Orleans. So I actually kind of got excited. I'm like, hell yeah, I could use that extra money. Now, but I've noticed something. We're going down the interstate. We're coming up on Geismar. And I'm kind of glancing in my mirror, and she has this look on her face, an addressable look, because she almost kind of looked terrified. So I just asked her, I said, is everything all right? And she said, I just don't remember the airport being this far. Like, oh, did you not mean to go to the one in New Orleans? No, I meant to go to the one here. Now, she may have accidentally did that, but the fact that the price for going to the airport in Baton Rouge from downtown being outrageously high should have been a red flag that something wasn't right. And if she had her phone open with the app, it would have showed her our progress that we're going to New Orleans. So I said, would you like me to turn around and see if we can get to the one in Baton Rouge? She's like, yeah, sure, let's do that. So, you know, I get off at the Geismar exit, get back on the interstate, and proceed back towards Baton Rouge. But before we even fully got into Baton Rouge, she changed her destination to home because she missed her flight because of this. So yeah, because of that, all out-of-town rides will be verified verbally. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all I have for y'all for now. There may or may not be a part 3. Maybe. Because like I said, I've been up all night, been out doing this all night, running on fumes, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip with this one. Yeah, I got tongue-tied on that already. But if I think of some more material to do a part 3, I'll definitely drop one. But in the meantime, do thank y'all for watching. God bless. And to all my rideshare drivers out there, y'all be safe out there. Cut.